Hello everyone, how are you all doing out there? I'm Kate Hill, bringing you the best and unbiased and honest content on property, along with amazing hints and tips, location reports. Stay tuned today. I'm going to talk about the role of short-term rentals in Australia's property crisis. Australia's property market is facing, I think we can all agree, unprecedented challenges, a term the media loves, with housing affordability deteriorating and rental availability shrinking. The ABS reported that the national average new mortgage size reached a record high of $624,000 in December 23. Concurrently, national rent averages soared to $600 a week in the June quarter this year, with capital cities averaging $640 a week, regional areas $540 a week. These alarming figures are compounded by a critically low rental vacancy rate of 1.4%, down from the pre-pandemic norm of 2.5%. In this context, the role of short-term rental companies like Airbnb has come under scrutiny. Critics argue that these platforms are exacerbating the housing crisis by driving up rent prices, reducing the availability of long-term rental properties. But Airbnb Australia and New Zealand manager counters this by claiming that short-term rentals account for only 1% of the total rental stock in Australia. And while this figure may seem insignificant, the impact of short-term rentals on the broader property market shouldn't be overlooked. One of the most pressing concerns surrounding short-term rental platforms is their effect on rent prices. As property owners opt to list their homes on platforms like Airbnb for short-term stays, the supply of long-term rental properties diminishes, of course. This reduced supply, coupled with high demand, drives up rent prices, making it increasingly difficult for tenants to find affordable housing. In popular tourist destinations like Byron Bay, for example, the situation is particularly acute. The influx of short-term rentals has transformed the housing landscape, pushing rent prices to unsustainable levels, apparently, and forcing long-term residents to compete with short-term visitors for housing. This trend has prompted local authorities to intervene. For instance, Byron Bay recently introduced regulations limiting non-hosted short-term rentals to 60 days per year. The mayor has emphasised the importance of preserving residential areas for local residents, highlighting the need to protect the community from the adverse effects of short-term rentals. But these regulations have not been without controversy, of course. Airbnb warned that such caps will have serious employment impacts, particularly in regions heavily reliant on tourism. Short-term rentals provide a source of income for property owners, obviously. They support the local economies by attracting visitors. Limiting the availability of short-term rentals will therefore, or could, have unintended consequences, including job losses and in the tourism and hospitality sectors, which a lot of these areas rely on. The broader implications of short-term rentals on housing affordability are concerning. As rent prices continue to rise, even full-time workers are finding it increasingly difficult to afford housing. The dream of home ownership is becoming ever more elusive for many Australians as the gap between wages and property prices widens. Experts warn that the worsening housing affordability crisis is pushing more people into rental markets, further increasing demand and driving up prices. In this context, the role of short-term rentals in reducing the availability of long-term rental properties becomes even more significant. While short-term rentals may offer a lucrative opportunity for property owners, they contribute to a system where housing is treated more as an investment than a basic human need. So addressing Australia's property crisis requires, as always, a multifaceted approach that considers the interests of all stakeholders. So while short-term rental platforms like Airbnb have undoubtedly brought economic benefits, particularly in tourist regions, their impact on housing affordability and rental availability shouldn't be ignored. Local governments, like those in Byron Bay, are taking steps to regulate the short-term rental market to protect their communities. These measures are essential to ensure that residential areas remain accessible to long-term residents and that housing isn't solely driven by market forces. But such regulations have to be carefully balanced to avoid unintended economic consequences like job losses in tourism-dependent regions. At the same time, broader policy interventions are needed to address the root causes of Australia's housing crisis, increasing the supply of affordable housing, providing incentives for long-term rentals, and implementing rent controls are potential strategies. They're already in place in some areas, and they alleviate pressure on the rental market. Additionally, encouraging property owners to prioritise long-term rentals over short-term listings will be a key component of more sustainable housing strategies. Don't keep putting investors off. While short-term rental companies like Airbnb may only account for a small percentage of Australia's rental stock, the impact on the property market that they have is significant. By reducing the availability of long-term rentals, driving up rent prices, these platforms are contributing to housing affordabilities facing many Australians. As the property market continues to evolve, it's crucial that all policymakers strike a balance between supporting economic growth through tourism, protecting the fundamental right to housing. Without careful regulation and a focus on increasing affordability and affordable housing, the negative effects of short-term rentals on the property market is likely to persist, exacerbating the challenges faced by renters and potential homeowners alike. As always, I will keep you posted on all things property from around Australia. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. I do really appreciate it if you are enjoying all the free content. Thank you so much, and I will see you all again soon. Bye.